Is death worth dying without a story to tell? Welcome to Bad Builds. So, today we're going to talk about the Squire. So what is the Squire? Why would you want to be a Squire? Aren't you the hero? Aren't you the big man, the puff-chest hero who stands undauntingly before danger and puffs his chest forward and says in a mighty voice, I will slay thee, and I will do so before breakfast? Well, that's all fun and dandy, but there's a certain charm and nuance to being a slightly, kind of creeping up. Like, you're level 1. You're baby character. You just kind of crawled out of combat academy. You know how to hold your sword straight. You know how to point your nose in the right direction. But you probably don't know any cool moves. Like, unless you're doing one of those things where it's like, I'm actually technically level 20, but I'm starting level 1 because it's convenient. My character just has to unlock his latent powers. Unless you're doing that kind of stuff, in which case, how the hell do you find those people? Well, I got one, so how can I complain? You can do a lot with a squire, because a squire normally stands by the side of his great and noble hero. Why would he be out and about on his own? Why would a squire be pitter pattering without any assistance? And the squire is defined by his lord and master. He or she is in service of a greater good. So people become squires for a number of reasons. One is it's a paying job. Two is you get to learn a bunch of stuff and you get to make your way up to the top. And three, you learn a dangerous occupation while there's someone behind you who covers your back. Now, get me if I'm wrong. It's just an internship for being an adventurer. So naturally, there's a lot of good reasons to go along with this. But what kind of reasons would your big man have to send you off and say, you know what, don't come back for like a couple of weeks? He's just kind of shifty eyes, goes, just don't come back for like a couple of weeks, maybe. Go out there, go slay a lich. I don't care, go away. First and foremost is the Dishonored. Your master was a fantastic hero. Big puffy chest man goes, ha ha ho ho ho! You are found fiend. Will I bring out my blade of super goodness and I will swing it about? Ha ha! And he's kind of like, Now, immediately, by being the Dishonored, you immediately have one thing going for you. You've got a bit of a backstory to you, because you clearly did something that caused things to fuck up. You already immediately have something to introduce yourself with. Well, I'm the squire that lost him the magical blade of lightning. Oh my god, I don't want to tell the story to everyone. Or maybe your character's like, I must atone for my sins. Or maybe something in between where your dude is just like, to me it's an excuse to go out and about. I still technically get paid every week. It's not like every week, your little bank account, who knows how banking works, but maybe your little bank account grows by like a couple of bucks every once in a while. If you're in a modern setting, heck, you could still just say, well, technically you still get your salary, so on top of your whole whatever the hell you're doing spiel, you make a little bit of money. What's wrong with that? Like a little bit of extra pocket change, you can spend the pocket change on living, and the rest on cool stuff. So, the Dishonored has a story to tell. Let's go straight to that. What's the benefit? Has a story to tell. Now, it can be anything. Maybe your master is just pedantic as all hell. Like, the reason you're sent off is because your Sir Knight or Sir whoever was like, could you get me the fork? And you gave him a spoon, and he was like, oh my god, oh my god, like, oh man, go and die. Just go out there, kill some wolves, die. Here's another thing. How did you meet the party? Like, as a squire, maybe you met them, like you're in a time of dire need and they saved your life and you're like, hey, I was told to do this and you just helped me out. How about I stick with you guys for a little bit until I feel like I can go back? Like, are you gonna come back? Are you ordered to come back? Like, what's defining this? Immediately, you get another angle to your character of like, how long are you going to adventure? Not a lot of people think about this. A lot of people are like, I'm an adventurer. I'm going to adventure for the rest of my life. But adventuring isn't the kind of thing you're supposed to be doing forever. Like, at some point, you have to quit and do something else, even if it's just like sitting down for a couple of hours and sticking your fingers up your nose and going, man, I sure do love being one of them adventurer guys, but I'm just going to take a break right now. So you immediately have like, what is your end goal as a person? You have that set out for you. And that can change over time, but for now, your end goal is for getting another lightning sword. Like, you're going to do this shit until you can get an exact sword like his. Maybe you're going to do it until you learn the difference between a fork and a spoon. Like with Psychic, you just go, I will close my eyes, and I can tell you exactly how many forks and spoons are in front of me by honing my latent psychic powers and opening my third eye. Open. I mean, it's a lame psychic power, but if it's what you need to come back, there you go. Um, has a story to tell. On top of that, you have a mission, which gives you purpose and motivation. You have a sense of duty and are trustworthy because, well, maybe you ran away. Maybe you ran away. What if you ran away? What if your dishonor is that you just kind of bummed it out of there? Like, you have the basic training, but you were like, you know what? Maybe he mistreated you. Maybe you're dishonored because he mistreated you. And you're like, I'm not going to put up with this. And you just kind of like scamper, scamper. Scamper over the hill, little errand boy. You'll make it someplace. But you've still dishonored him. You still carry that heavy burden of, like, having messed up. Like, isn't that a good story to tell? Like, you're like, I'm sent on an errand. And then later it's like, no, I dishonored him. And the guy challenges you to a fight. And you beat his ass. Wouldn't that be a great little punctuation to your story? Like, you kick his ass. You go like, hey, ha ha, hey, ho. That's great. So that's the Dishonored, which is it's a great way to do a Squire. Now let's take the next one. The Errand Boy. Now the Errand Boy is, you're kind of you're begrudgingly a Squire. Maybe you didn't want to get the job. Maybe the knight's like, I don't want an apprentice, and he just sends you off like, go fetch me some petunias, and he doesn't care how long it takes you. He'll pay your family the just dues, but he doesn't give a damn if you come back alive or not. Immediately you have the sense of, like, your character has something to prove. Like, you have ambition. Or maybe you don't. Maybe the whole point is you don't have ambition and you're just kind of dragged along. Don't do that. Don't ever fucking do that, by the way. If you make a character that actively resists adventuring, fun fact, everyone's just going to leave him behind. You're going to be like, what am I supposed to do? And the answer is, you're supposed to make someone who actually wants to go on adventures. How does that sound? How about, in this game about adventuring, you make someone who actually will, when they see a burning building, go, man, I should probably see if I can do something. Let me check my pockets. Oh, I got this raindrop coin. And you toss it. Yay, I've done something. Woo, I'm an adventurer. Yay, I got the blood hook. I'm cut like a fish. That's stuff you got to remember. So let's write down those angles. Number one was, he doesn't want you. Or maybe you're just not that ambitious. And he knows. Let's take another angle. Oh my god, I'm gonna get a nosebleed at this rate. Keep fiddling with my nose. What's the other reason to be an errand boy? I mentioned a couple of them. Frick. See, this is why this is kind of annoying. It would help if I had someone like a stenographer. Should I get a stenographer? The answer is no, because I don't have the money for that, and this does not pay well enough to hire a stenographer. And I don't want to rewatch all my footage. That's boring. Because I already said all this stuff. I know what's coming. I mean, as a Squire, you probably have some good equipment. Let's not forget that as a Squire, you might like if your GM is gonna allow it, you can always just say, "Hey, listen, I want to get one like cool, like super cool gun or this fancy magical item that's like it's not too powerful, like it's a CR1 kind of thing, so it won't be out of the curve." And I stole it. Like that's the dishonor you brought us. You stole something from him. Maybe it was part of a heist. Now, the final one is an ill fit for a master, the misfit. Now, what qualifies as the misfit? What happens when you're a misfit? Well, the way I like to see the misfit is you're a knight, your master is a wizard. And the two of you just kind of clash. Well, actually, I should rename this a Squire/Apprentice. Because kind of apprenticeship also works for this. So you're kind of clashing. Maybe your ideologies don't work, and he just kind of wants to get rid of you. Man, that song's stuck in my head. So, as the misfit, what are you like? Well, you're a misfit. Your master doesn't care if you're there or not. Maybe you just don't work. Maybe your skill set isn't right. Maybe your physical abilities just aren't up to snuff. Um, maybe job. Maybe he got saddled up with you. Like, try to explain this in a good way. Like, try to really sell yourself here, because if you're a misfit, there's something to it. There's something to it, you know. Oh yeah, that's also a good thing about role playing benefits is. So depending on the circumstances, it could give you some information, some knowledge. Because if you work in a castle all the time, you're gonna eventually like hear rumors and see like how castles work. What are the logistics of a castle? How much food does it take? Like suddenly you have this sort of becoming of a battle master. Like you need to go, like he says, go out there and lead an army of 100 men into a charge and build your own castle. And you're like, well, I've been around the castle for a while. I know what it would take to get 100 men to do what needs to happen. And immediately your character just think. That's the point of bad builds is just put a whole bunch of ideas, like little baby ideas, in your little baby head, and let them boil and bubble. Boil and bubble. Don't forget, I do take suggestions. Just as a quick intermezzo, if you've got a suggestions or a prompt or something, like you're like, make something witchly, but don't go for the standard witch. Like, go for the kind of witch that would go on an adventure. Like, what are they doing out there? That kind of stuff. Give me something exciting to work with. I'm also okay with like non-system agnostic suggestions. Like, I want to make a 5e cleric that's like non-standard. I want something else. I want some flavor. Because here, bad builds were about flavor. Flavor. You know, taking a big old bottle of spice and just going crunch, crunch. Adding some spice to that pepper. Don't pepper your spice. That's bad. Like, think about that. Like, there's another kind of I haven't talked about yet, which is the fanboy. So, let's say that you're just walking about honky dory and you see this amazing nightman in shining white armor, riding atop the finest white horse of the land, which can jump 1,000 yards and burrow under the ground. And he also has a black horse, which can fly through the sky of night to the moon as well. And with all that information, you're like, oh man, this guy's fucking radical. Can I be your squire? And he's like, aha, I have no need for a squire quite yet. I'm not that old, but I do have need of an errand boy. Now, you might say, what's the difference between the errand boy and the misfit? Well, the misfit is the errand boy is more like, I got an errand boy. Yeah. The misfit is more like, I don't want to teach this. Like, say you're a necromancer, and this guy comes up and he's like, listen, I know you. I was told that you're like the diviner teacher, and he's like, I'm not the. I don't want to teach this little snot-nosed kid. Like that kind of stuff. Like the misfit is more antagonistic. You've got the dishonored, which is like you basically stepped on his fucking shoes and kicked his wife down the stairs. The misfit is he prefer you not be there, and the errand boy is more like he doesn't take your training seriously, because if he did, you wouldn't be running out doing adventures. Cheers. Now, would it? Like, if he cared about your training, he'd be like, here's a training for you to do. Follow this training well, and maybe you'll choose something in life. Because Squirehood is primarily A, taking care of equipment and managing it, but it's also like a learning. Like, at some point, you're going to replace him, or you're going to take... I know that might not be how historical squires work, but when most people think squires, they think the guy that's going to eventually become a knight himself. And that's what the apprentice part is also for. Is maybe the wizard doesn't care about the subject you want to learn, and he just has to take you on. And so he might teach you, might be like, here's a scroll, I wrote down some divination spells, read them through and cast them, blah, 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 blah. I'm going back to my necromancy, and he starts stirring his big old pot of undead, like bones are clattering, and the hands are reaching out and trying to pat him, and he's like, no, don't pat me, you skulls, and he starts hitting them with a spoon, going, go down, you beasts! Cast a divination spell and tell me if I'll be successful. I must know before my spoon breaks. And then the spoon gets taken and they try to pat him with the spoon because it has reach. Hmm. But yeah, like the Dishonored is straight up you fucked up. Like you're in deep shit, and it gives you so much to work with. Like how do you handle it? Like what happened? How do you handle it? Who are you indebted to? And do they care about you making up? The errand boy is what kind of errand were you sent on that you went astray? How much do you appreciate or look up to this guy? How much does he care that you're gone? Like will he try to save you? Can the GM when like you're near TPK, and then with the errand boy, you can have that he swoops in to save you. The misfit maybe, but it'll be a bit more grudgingly, be like, "Hey, I now owe you a favor. How about you do me some fucking shit?" And the misfit is more like you want this. You want this to some extent, and you're like, listen, can you just give me some sort of mission I can do where I don't have to be around you for a whole bunch? Just send me in a direction and I'll do it. But just give me something to do where I can feel that I'm at least achieving something. You know, like think about it. Think about things. Because the more you let that bubble in, the more good beans come out. And when you got the good beans, you got the good stuff. So that's, I guess, how you could build a squire or apprentice. Which could work with any kind of apprenticeship, not just a magical apprentice. Maybe you're a blacksmith's apprentice. Like he doesn't like people around, so he sends you on errands, or he just kind of ignores you because you're like, I don't like this person being around here. But yeah. So next time, we're going to do the teacher. What is it like on the other end of the spectrum? What if you're a teacher of some sorts? How does that reflect on you? Like, what happens when you are like a tenured professor and you fucked up or you didn't? Or you just have a little apprentice, like a little level 0 following you around and you have to take care of him. Teacher is going to be, however, one that actually requires you to be a little bit higher level because in order to be a teacher, you need to know some stuff. And it also means that your little apprentice, A, is not going to be overpowering, and B, is something you actually have to care about. So next time, the teacher. How is it that you can teach and also go on adventure? The answer is you take your fucking work with you or you don't have any work to begin with. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.